Hello Techies, welcome back to our channel UiPath by Sujita. In this video, we are going to work on CSV files. So we are going to deal with CSV files and let us learn how many activities are available in UiPath Studio to deal with CSV files. So this is going to be a full workshop, practice session. So please open your studio and practice this along with me so you can learn how to manage CSV files with this particular video. Okay, so let us quickly open our UiPath Studio. So what I did, I have created a separate sequence saying manage CSV files for this demo purpose. So now go to activities panel and then just type CSV. Before that, what is a CSV? Is it different from Excel file or is it a very similar to Excel file? For the beginners, keeping beginners in mind, I just want to let you know about CSV file. What is a CSV file? CSV file is nothing but a comma separated file. We can say that comma separated values file. Okay, so by this you can understand it is a simple plain text file where the values, how the values in this file will be, it will be a comma separated value. So all the files values in the CSV file is going to be separated with a comma. So for example, I'm just opening one text file and I'll show you how this looks like. So what I did, a notepad, a .txt file, I just opened a txt file where I'm adding some information with a comma as separator. Okay, so for that what I'm going to do, employee ID, comma, employee name, comma, age. So this is going to be one row. Next, enter. So ID will be 1111, name will be John, age maybe 50. If you see here, I'm using a comma as separator and one enter. That means going to new line. So if you see this complete If you see this complete text file, the data in this complete text file, this is in a particular format, right? It is in a particular format, and if you could notice this separator is comma. So this is nothing but values in a text file, a plain text file with comma as a separator. Comma separated values in a file is nothing but a CSV file. So now when I save this, save as, I am going to use as CSV. Fine. .csv. Okay, just save it. So when I go to the path, you could see this one, right? Example.csv file. When I open this, see, it is similar to Excel file, but it is a .csv file. Comma separated values in a plain text file. Okay, and whereas Excel file is a combination of both content and the format. In Excel we can do multiple formatting, right? It holds the information of both the all the worksheets along with the content and the formatting texture and all, right? So that is enough about CSV file. Now let us quickly jump into our demo now. So CSV files. So how to deal with these kind of CSV files when we automate a process, okay, a legacy process, because nowadays most of the companies are going to using almost Excel 6. not with the CSV. But sometimes it happens with we are supposed to automate a legacy process where CSV files may come in picture. In that scenario, we are supposed to manage CSV file. So using this video, we can completely learn how to manage CSV files. Okay. For that, what I did, I just created a sequence, right? Just go to activities panel in your studio. I hope you are following along with me or doing this practice session along with me, right? So just type CSV in activities panel and you could see that app integration, under app integration CSV, there are 3 activities: append to CSV, read CSV, write CSV, right? And also in Excel, there is export to CSV. Okay, leave this one. Let us concentrate completely on how to manage with the CSV files. That means this part: append to CSV, read CSV and write CSV. So we are going to do a practice session where we are going to use all these activities. Okay, quickly make a note of this practice session. So what we are going to do, we will be having the 2 CSV files. So take 2 CSV files, .csv files, read data from one CSV file and append to another CSV file. Copy this complete data to a new CSV file. Okay, so these are 3 tasks. For that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have 2 CSV files in my project. Okay, so I have created a new project, Excel automation, where in that I have created a manage CSV files sequence. Now I'm going to add 2 CSV files into my project. So if you see here, this is one CSV file where I have added few name and age of employees. Say first row is going to be the header, right, name and age, and rest all considered as the values. And if you see here, comma being used as a separator, that means CSV comma separated values. Okay, fine. Now I have one more. Yeah, this one. If this is global employee details, same 2 columns, name and age and corresponding values. So my agenda is take 2 CSV files. Fine. I have copied these 2 CSV files into this project. Let me refresh it. So these are my 2 CSV.csv, if you see, right, files. And then read data from one CSV file and append to another CSV file. So here, if you observe, we have one target, reading data from a CSV file. Okay, and then append data to another CSV file. That means another activity. And let me start with this. So let me have a sequence. Okay, yeah, quickly rename the sequence and add an annotation. Manage CSV files, I renamed it, and then this is my annotation. Okay, so now I am going to read the CSV file. Read CSV. On mouse over to it, it clearly gives what it is going to do. Copies all entries from a specified CSV file to an Excel range, table or sheet, or saves the data for later use in the automation. Let us see how it is going to work, and it is included in which package? UiPath Excel activities. Okay, so just drag and drop here, select this, go to properties panel. If you see here, it has file path. Now we are going to give the path of the CSV file. Which file we are going to read? We are going to append these 2. Okay, HR employee details. Fine. HR. Let me create one more CSV file, say IT employee details, and then we can club and move all the data to global employees details. Okay, fine. In one sheet we have HR employees details. Let me show you. Fine. And in other .csv file we have IT employee details. So we are going to combine these two details. Okay, let us complete up to this part. I hope you are doing this along with me. Fine. Let me give the file path. First, what we are going to read? We are going to read HR employee details. Select and click on open. Fine. Yeah. Next, output to. So it is going to read the data from this CSV file and it is going to save it in a data table. So we are going to give a variable, data table variable here. So in our earlier videos we have learned, right, how to give this. Either we can use Control K here and create a new variable, or we can use variables panel here where we can create a new variable for the data table data type and then pass on here. Okay, so now I have used Control K, Control plus K, where I am going to use DT HR data. Fine, save it. And if you see here, there is something called has headers. Does our data has headers or not? Let me show you. Our data has headers, right? Name and age. So it will be considered, I mean, when we check, yeah, when we use this has headers option here, when we check this, it will consider the first row as the column headers. Okay, so let us consider this value. Okay, fine. And if you see the properties of this particular activity, a delimiter, that means separator. What is the separator here? Comma, right? We used comma. So that is the reason. By default it is showing it as comma. So we have tab, comma, semicolon, caret and pipe. So many options are there. Since we used comma as a separator, as a delimiter, we are leaving it as it is. Fine. Let me save this. And now what we are going to do is to test this. Let us go to activities and then just use output data table activity. I'll let you know what it is going to do. Just give your data table name here and go to properties of this activity. Give one string variable, HR data. Okay, now use a right line activity and pass that string variable here. Save it and then test this. Run file. Fine. Go to output. See, whatever is there in the HR employee details.csv file been printed here. So that is the usage of this output data table. I just use this to test this activity, whether it has read the data properly or not, right? So now what we are going to do, what is our agenda? First is take two CSV files, read data from one CSV file. This part is done, right? Next, append to another CSV file. Okay, we have, what is our another CSV file? We have something called IT employee details. So we have read data from HR employee details so far. Now we are going to append this data with this. That means appending means what? We are going to add the data from here, right? It's not like overriding. Fine. It is going to add to the already existing data. That is nothing but appending. Fine. Though it is a very simple concept, it is very needed because we will deal with Excel and CSV files very frequently in our automations when it comes to real-time scenarios. Okay, so it is always advisable to learn the concept very clearly. Okay, so keeping beginners in mind, I'm letting you know about each and every simple concept as well. Okay, so now what is our agenda? We are going to use append. So we have some data in dt_HR data, right? We read the data from this CSV file into a data table. Data table is a internal variable. Okay, now we are going to append the data from this CSV file to the one which is there in IT employee details.csv. Okay, for that we already learned this. We have something called append to CSV activity. What it is doing, copies an Excel range, table or sheet or table data saved for later and pastes it after existing data as a specified CSV file. Just drag and drop this. Fine. Just go to properties of this. So it is going to expect the file path, right? And then data table delimiter. Fine. Now let us give data to append. What is the data? Data is nothing but the output of this rate CSV. Fine. In this data table we have HR data. So pass this data table dt_HR data. Append to what file? Very clear, right? To which file you are going to append? What is our file name? It is IT. Yes, you are right. It is IT employee details. Fine. Now just verify whether the delimiter is selected properly or not. By default it is comma, right? So if you are using tab or semicolon or any other options, please make accordingly. So comma is our delimiter by default. So I am just leaving it as it is. Fine. Now let me run this. Just save it. Before that, just open HR employee details.csv and make a note what we have. We have Jack, George, David, Eric, Alex, right? And then in IT details, what do we have? How many rows we have? We have some Michael, Robert, Gregory. So till 6 there is data. So now what is our expectation? It is going to append the data from the other CSV from 7th row. Fine. I'm just closing this and then run this file. Done. Go to output. So done. Now let us just refresh this and let me open the IT employee details.csv file. Superb, right? After Gregory, all the data from our previous CSV file been copied over here. That means appended from this data. Okay, fine. So this part is also done. Just close this. Close this. Now what is our agenda? So read data from one CSV file, this part is done, and append to another CSV file, this is also done. Copy this complete data to a new CSV file. So I am going to copy this complete data to a which file? Say suppose global CSV file. Okay. So for that what I am going to do, I am going to use write CSV. What it is going to do, it is copying an Excel range, table or sheet or table data saved for later and paste it in a specified CSV file, replacing any existing data in the file. Okay, so just drag and drop. Okay, and now it is asking write from which data table to what file. Okay, so now where is our data? Our data is in one data table, right? HR data is in dt_HR data. Let me give the same data table here and the file which you want to copy this. For that what I am going to do, I am going to create a new file, say global employee details. Okay. So I just created an empty CSV file. Let me open this and show you. There's nothing in that. Fine. Now what I'm going to do, I'm just writing the data from this data table, whatever is there in this dt underscore hr data variable. I'm going to save it. I'm going to write that data into, come on, yeah, global employee details. Fine. And now just verify the properties. What it has, delimiter, fine, and then add headers, because we have some headers, right? So I just enable this, I use this checkbox, and then just save it and execute it. Let us see how it is going to behave now. Fine. You remember the IT employee details has some appended data so far, right? Now let us see what is there in global employee details. Fine. Whatever data is there under dt underscore hr data.csv, dt underscore hr data variable, that data been saved into the CSV file. That means that has been written into this CSV file using this write CSV file. Now let us do some magic here. Let us try to understand the behavior. Okay, so read CSV file. So what it is doing, it is reading some data and storing into a data table. Okay, forget about these two activities, because we use this just to test whether it has read the data properly or not. Now come to append to CSV file. Here what we are appending, whatever data is there in this data table, we are going to append to another CSV file. While doing this, I got a doubt. What if the number of columns are different, or what if the delimiter is different compared to these two? Because when you say this hr employee details.csv file and it employee details.csv file, both look similar except the data, right? Both has two columns, fine, except the data in it, right? What if I have some extra column in it? What if I have a different column? Let me add here salary, one more column, and let me give a run. What happens? Let us see. I'm just closing this. Okay, so I'm just concentrating on append to CSV. Okay, now let me run the file. Done. Just refresh this. So let me open and see how it behaves. Surprising. See here, it is appending the data from first CSV to this CSV, considering irrespective of this column names. Fine. So by this what we can understand, we should make sure that both the columns are same. Both the columns in the sense, the columns from first CSV to the columns in the second CSV. When we are working with this append to CSV, we should make sure that the data is, the format, whether it is three columns, not about the columns, number of columns itself, but we need to make sure whether the column is properly aligned or not, because age is something where we are going to add, we are supposed to add this data in age column, but since that it is, this column is in third column, it is by default, it is considering the second column as age, and it has just updated appended the data from dt underscore hr data variable. Fine. So these kind of mistakes may happen if we ignore all this. So make sure the format, whatever is there in the variable which you are using here, is in line with the CSV file which you are going to append. Okay. Fine, this is clear, right? Now I have one more doubt, where if I use something else, if I use semicolon, what happens? Okay, let me just remove. This is fine. I'm just keeping it as it is. Save it. So now let us see. I just changed the delimiter in append to CSV file. Now let us see how it is going to behave. I hope you are doing this along with me, right? So refresh this and just open this and see what is there. If you see here, everything, complete data from DT underscore HR data variable being copied, being appended in the first column itself, because since this is a .csv file and it has not found the comma, since we use the semicolon as the separator in this data, it is unable to copy this age properly into the respective column. You notice the difference, right? So this makes a big change. So always be very cautious using these properties, delimiter and the columns, whatever you are copying. Okay, fine. Now let us just save this. I just reverted it to comma. And now coming back to write CSV. Now same thing here. When I say, now we are dealing with the properties of write CSV file. Okay. When we say there are no headers, let us see how it is going to work. Okay. There is this, yeah, write CSV, no add headers are there, right? So I just removed this. Now let us see how it is going to work. I'm just removing this data, save it, close it, and then run this file. Fine, just refresh this. Now write CSV, we are dealing with this global employee details.csv file, right? So I'm going to open this file. You notice the difference? The first row, something like name, age or ignored. It's not copying it. It is not writing that particular row here because we have unchecked this add headers. Only if we accept this include headers. See, as soon as I remove this include headers, it is automatically going off. Okay, so that is the reason we are not able to get those headers here. Fine. So just close this and let us do one thing. I just included headers here, and what we are writing here, DT underscore HR data. From where we got this? We got this using read CSV file. This also has some headers and has headers checkbox. So I'm just disabling this. Now let us see how our output prints. If you see here, when I use has headers, it has given name and age also, right? Just keep this in mind and remove this. Now just save this and let us test this. And before that, I just want to make sure we made this change, right? In write CSV we have include headers. Now let us see how it is going to behave. I hope I'm not confusing you. Fine, perfect. Now just refresh this and just before that, first see in output panel. If you see here, has headers I have not used. Okay, this be disabled. Now if you see column 1 and column 2, something came as a new row, right? Name and age also been considered as some value similar to Jack 22, George 13, right? So these are working as our headers now because we have not mentioned that we have headers. Fine. Now let us see how this has taken how this part worked. For that I am going to open global employee details.csv file. Let us see how this is behaving. See, column 1 and column 2 being considered as the headers, and name and age also been considered as the values. Clear? So when it is not very easy to work with CSV file because we should be very cautious about these kind of silly mistakes. Okay, so I hope you got a clear understanding on this, how to fix this. So if you don't want to include headers, just remove the include headers. Just remove. Okay, if you don't want to include headers, if you just want to include only the data, copy only the data from this particular CSV to the other one, just remove this. Fine. And when your data has headers, make sure you should give that, so that when you give this option to bot will, the executor will understand that your data contains some header information, and whether you copy those header information or not needs to be controlled over here when you are writing it back to another CSV file. Okay, now let us give a last try. So I'm intimating executor saying my data has headers, okay, using this checkbox. Now I don't want to copy those headers into my final CSV, so I am just disabling this option. Now let me close this and give a last try. Let me save this and run file. Fine, just refresh and then see. Clear? Though our data has some headers, we have just escaped our headers here. Fine. So I hope you got a very clear information, and now you are confident enough on dealing with managing with CSV files. It is very easy, but be very cautious while you deal with these kind of options in properties. Okay. So thank you so much for your support so far. Meet you through our next videos. Till then, happy learning and happy automation. Bye bye.